The original NES toaster, a classic video game system that is loved to this day. It has many great loved games for it. But many people have resorted to emulation because they have become frustrated with trying to get these games to work. Now, many of us as kids blew into the cartridges that we had. Burger Time here, yeah, we blew into this, I don't know how many times to get that game to work. Well, what you're actually doing is getting moisture in, and it helps to make that connection to the pins sometimes, but eventually it damages the cartridge a little bit, damages the pins inside even more, and shares it with other cartridges. And one of the problems with the pins, well, that's your problem right there. The pins inside, not only is it getting dirt and moisture in there, the spring-loading cartridge system in the NES toaster bent the pins up over time. If you see here, I'm trying to choose the right pin connectors here. This one here, the gap is just a little bit too wide. That's the original pin connector in my NES there. This one right here has a smaller gap. It's a newer pin connector, but it would eventually get bent up again. So the pin connectors themselves, they get bent up over time. One of the solutions out there is to solve this with disabling the lockout chip, but that's only gonna fix one part of the problem. It won't work for everything. What if other pins are bent that make other connections, you know? Well, there's a more permanent solution. The blinking light win. Now what this is a new cartridge assembly, basically making your NES from going from spring-loaded to being a straight loader. Now to install this, you need to open up your NES, and you have to remove the RF shielding, and then you see the tray and the old pin connectors. You'll want to remove those, remove the screws. You want to slide off the pin connectors. That might be a little difficult to do, but you can do it. It does slide off once you've removed the screws that are attached to it. After you've slid off the pins, now is a good time to clean your system, the connectors specifically. Now, some people warn against using isopropyl rubbing alcohol. That's because there are some that contain glycerin. This one does not. I bought this at Target. It's 70% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. There's also 90%. I made sure the only ingredients in this are alcohol and water. You don't want anything with glycerin. Stay away from like wintergreen scented rubbing alcohol. You might think it's a cool idea to have your NES smelling like wintergreen, but really, that would cause problems. The glycerin would form a film over it. So use isopropyl rubbing alcohol, 70% to 90%. So you can clean the contacts with that, and Q-tip, of course. First, you can break out the new set of pins, slide that on. Now for me, I had a bit of trouble sliding it on. It did not want to go on initially, and that's because it was such a tight fit on the connectors. And that might vary from person to person. I just had trouble with it. In Arcade Works video, they slide it on really easily. I did not get it on that easily. I was afraid I was going to break something, okay? But after you install that, then you can just put the tray on. Now the tray, it just slides on. There's tracks on the back of the tray that just slide right on the board that the new pin connectors are on. And then all you do is put the screws back in. There's going to be two larger screws. I can't find them now, but you won't need those larger screws. Just keep them for something else. And once you've put that on, put all the other screws in. If you want to put your RF shield back in, I forgot to put my RF shield in, but you can put it back in. It'll fit just fine. Put your NES back together, and then plug it in and power it on. Now Now, just to make you aware, this new set of pins will cause it to be a tighter connection than your old set of pins. That's a good thing, but just be aware that it will be a pain to try to pull the cartridges out. You can get them out, but it's going to take a little wiggling. But, you know, for me, I think that's worth it. To have a perfectly working Nintendo Entertainment System, totally worth it. Also, one other thing I didn't mention, this does disable your lockout chip for you. You won't have to go and cut pin for yourself. They have a system in there that disables the lockout chip. Now, there is some additional setup with PAL systems if you're in another country that uses PAL. It just involves some power cycling to get the right configuration. I think you only have to do it one time, but it's explained in the instructions here. Of course, here in the US, we use NTSC on our systems, so it's not a problem for US users. Now, do I recommend this? Absolutely. If you want a good working Nintendo Entertainment System that'll work for years to come, that you've been having trouble working, this is a great option for you. Now, be sure to clean your cartridges, again, with isopropyl rubbing alcohol and Q-tips. Don't get the rubbing alcohol that has glycerin in it, though. And one other thing, it will work with the unlicensed cartridges like Tengen. These Tengen cartridges, I would wait a little bit before trying it out in the NES. Just let the pins loosen up a little bit first with some of the other games, then try a Tengen card, because otherwise that's going to be a pain to get out of there, seriously. I have heard another solution to doing that. If you have a Game Genie, that will make the cartridges a lot easier to get out of the system, because you have more of a grip on it there, because it doesn't stick out otherwise. The Game Genie will help it stick out, and you have more of a grip on it, and you can pull out the cartridges way easier. Alright, so thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. Also, if you want to see more, subscribe. It's a new channel, and I plan on making many more video game and computer game videos, as well as some awesome hardware videos in the future. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.